So then we are back with more understanding from the time of the second tabernacle services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end. Per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find then obviously the time of the restoration and reduction. Also Yeshayahu the 24th chapter. And then always indicating the importance of the Quran included in the holy instructions of the Israelic lineage. As we found in the 62nd chapter of Yeshayahu, explained very plainly the role of the Ishmaelites. So as we go forward studying the scripture and filtering the entire scripture, there is a clear understanding of the instructions of the Creator as far as this time of the restoration and also the autumn feast. And in fact, it's not truly complicated. The understanding is people being more humble and understand the simplicity of the plan of the end. So let's then understand this factor. Time of restoration. Restoration of what? Of the holy cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. Yeshayahu the 61st chapter. Then you find, layer with this, then the Gentile level related with Ezekiel the 37th chapter. The two sticks. The first stick is the stick of authority of the Ishmaelites via trade. The second stick is the authority of tabernacling. So those are coming together, obviously. So then, as far as this time prior of the first holy city on the land of Cush, what do we find as far as then the Gentile level? So let's understand how it works. The 11th chapter of Daniel explains the relationship of the kingdom of the north and the relationship of the kingdom of the south. Kingdom of the north is the Soviet Union, Mr. Putin in charge. It's obvious. Only because people are learning the instructions does not mean they can change for their own gain. The Hebrews tried and he did not then work as far as the priest or the priests of the people of the law. They thought they were so powerful they would change the instructions. Well, we found out a whole lot more information that makes them stupid. For instance, the inventory of the chamber when Ronald found the holy objects. There was not found then obviously the garment of the priests. You know why? Because the Messiah himself was wearing the garment of the priest. A simple cloth around the body with a leather belt, regular sandals, and then a veil in front of the face. So then, let's understand from the simplicity of the plan. We find the 11th chapter, Kingdom of the North, Soviet Union. Kingdom of the South, Africa yet birthing. Then the Kingdom of the East, China. Where do we find the relationship then of the entire world and China? Daniel, then the next chapter. You find then Baal and the dragon. Baal and the dragon relates with a spiritual understanding of what the Babylonian system is versus the time where we are at. After 2009, we've switched from devil, slanderer, to dragon. So when you read Galah, then you find those many names of Nahashatan, for instance, Nahashatan, destroyer, you find serpent, you find devil, and you find dragon. We've moved ourselves out of deceit back into the time of the dragon. Because we are speaking of Gentile level. As far as tabernacling is concerned, we are during the time of restoration. So makes sense. So let's verify then how it's going to be played. We find in the Kingdom of the North, under the leadership of Mr. Putin. If you read then Daniel the 11th chapter, you find then the Kingdom of the North is going to be greater than its previous status. We understand the Soviet Union was very big, some 40 years ago or so. But then their condition of the future is going to be greater than previously. Since this truly is the absolutely true, let's then verify how they're going to become so great. The first giver is they are the leaders of the BRIC. Brazil, Soviet Union, India, China, and South Africa. What's the relationship of the Kingdom of the North and the Kingdom of the South? Obviously, Mr. Putin must start his quest via the southern tip of Africa, meaning South Africa. So the establishment of the relationship of the Kingdom of the North and South Africa. Mr. Putin must get the president of South Africa. In turn, the president of the South African section of the continent starts his relationship with the rest of the countries of the Northern Africa and Central Africa. Because Africa must be reorganized. We understand Mr. Putin is the planner. Why then he is the planner? Well, let's understand why. Some time ago there was a visit in China. Many leaders went over there in China. And then prior of the visit, the shortwave stations of the Pacific, primarily, they were humming with excitement of the system, Dragon system or the Chinese system yet coming shortly. Direct trade from countries. Many countries went to China. Afterwards, then they began to put down China. Then we found reports all because China has economic crisis. Don't be ridiculous. Thus then you begin to understand Daniel the 13th chapter. Baal and the dragon starts the fight. But then China, Mr. Xi, is very smart. Since he understands that these countries are from the Baalian system of Baal, Babylonian system. And Mr. Xi, no, he is from the dragon system. The only action Mr. Xi can do is this: visit with his friend, Mr. Putin, and give him the solo understanding of himself becoming the planner. It's extremely simple. They visit each other, and Mr. Xi simply said to him, "Could you please organize our plans?" So the Baalians, simply they go then north if they want to do trade with China. Problem solved. So Mr. Xi doesn't have to deal with this stupidity anymore. As far as countries come into his nation and then shortly after they try to put him down. And quite honestly, the Chinese, they are tired of it. So any country from the Babylonian system of any kind, fashion or shape goes to the north. If they are truly interested in do pure trade, then it should go through. If they try to scandalize themselves, it won't. So for the Kingdom of the North to receive this title of organizer or planner, Then, obviously, the Soviet Union provides oil and gas. In exchange, they become the organizers. Then the next step for Mr. Putin would be making a deal with the Kingdom of the South, then South Africa. Then the unrelenting relationship of Mr. Putin and South Africa. So then, Mr. Jacob Zuma, that's the person then the Northern Kingdom, Mr. Putin, should be after. Unrelenting. Until Mr. Zuma takes the responsibility of conversing with the rest of the entire continent of Africa. So from Mr. Putin to Mr. Zuma, and Mr. Zuma then have to deal with the rest of the entire continent, or the continent won't work. He has to pick. Because he must understand, South Africa is a kingdom. This means Central Africa must be organized, Congo must be organized, Rwanda must be organized, Northern Africa must be organized, and it starts with Mr. Zuma. Liking it or not. Because they've become, South Africa, or the inhabitants of the Southern Africa area of the continent, became part of the BRIC. Who's the leader of the BRIC? Mr. Putin. So then let's understand the next step in order for the Soviet Union to become greater than the previous. Then when Mr. Zuma takes responsibility for the continent of Africa and start then organizing, then what it takes from Mr. Putin is simply what he wants. So let's understand the next step. When the Balians, or the Baliers, then they go to the Northern Kingdom asking for trade with China. China at this moment is secluded in terms of protected. Nobody's going to put them down anymore. But the nations, they want to do trade with China. Then they have to visit with Mr. Putin. Only make sure prior to visiting with him, make sure you have your ducks on a row. And they understand what it means. Make sure you have the raw materials, make sure you have transportation, make sure you have money, make sure the deal then is solid. Then the whole situation is filtered through then the north, then goes to the east. As far as nations going straight to China, they can forget it. So then, the starting of the engine then gives you the understanding, Kingdom of the North, Kingdom of the South, and then East related but not part of. Because they are protected. Factory is protected. So the Balians lost. So these staters are planner of the Kingdom of the North, then already having a relationship with Mr. Zuma, Jacob Zuma. then he becomes responsible to make sure the rest of the continent of Africa then is organized. That's the way it's going to be played. Read the instructions. There is not much time left. We have not even 20 years left of this age. And then we have to layer the understanding of the freighters. Speak regarding it later. But let's understand how then the Soviet Union at some point is going to become Soviet Union. That's why every time I would speak of those people of the North, never came into my mind any other thought than Soviets. Always Soviets. And some people say, oh, but you know, the Soviets were gone a long time ago. No, they are not gone. They are Soviets. And then later began reading the instructions and I found, oh, but they're going to become greater than the first. China is socialist. And they have a direct relationship with Northern Kingdom, so at some point they're going to become socialists. Not the same way of the former, but higher than the former. So then, when this engine of Northern Kingdom, the protected kingdom of China being only the factory, and then the kingdom of the South, when this engine then starts, then 36 months later, we find then the US monetary system inactive. Then you can download the Chinese system in your computer. Then you can invest and do what you have to do. But then we have to understand the other factor. The Messiah said in the future, the freighters of the earth in charge. Thus then our understanding of lining up our government with the freighters. Because when the system becomes available, you download in your computer. It is similar of eBay, but then you have an icon over there of investment. You click on it, you receive a whole list of what you can invest product-wise, not in the company. As you project your understanding of other nations coming out of poverty, then you invest properly, because as the nations are buying the products, you get a tiny share. So it's very simple and straightforward. However, as you earn, and your digits they double, triple, quadruple, the government, our government, can't read what you are doing because it's confidential. And it's linked up with a bank overseas. The government can't read it, not even taxing. The only way they can tax is when these people doing trade, then they purchase their items. That's where then the government taxes. If we do our homework. So obviously China is very tired of the Baliers or Balians coming to his country and then making fun of. Then they return to their countries, they begin to step down on them. They try to match up what China is doing when they can't. The very understanding of Baal and the dragon is giving you the understanding dragon is going to win. So then obviously China wants to have their system throughout the world. They simply hire the Northern Kingdom, and this is what's going to make the Soviet Union again a great nation and more than previously. And there is a concern. The great country of, or realm of Australia, they are absolutely in the wrong path. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister did not make wise decisions. Mr. Abbott, or Mr. Tony Abbott, has the best plans. From a perspective of simplicity, he has the best plans. The existing Prime Minister got involved with over expenses, areas where it's projected but they don't have the cash on hand. And there was a history of budget failure in the past. This means the projections are not solid. And we understand the United States is printing out more money, Japan is printing out more money, and you can understand what goes on with the economy of Australia. They got in the mode of printing out more money. New Zealand is fine. Thus far, they are very reserved, but there is a person over there, Mr. Joyce, very smart. Model for the rest of the world as far as how to update the system. It becomes a healthy subsystem. But Australia is on the wrong path because they are projecting what they think they are going to earn, but then the plans are extremely expensive. It's extremely dangerous. And the only way to overcome any problems is by printing out more money, and then destroys the economy. So I would definitely 100% listen to Mr. Tony Abbott. Understanding then the plan of the end, then we have a clear understanding from Daniel the 11th chapter. We have an understanding of Galah, the freighters, labeling, taxing, instant taxation system. So then we can prepare ourselves for the time of the end, because this is what is going on. And there is only an avenue, in quote, for the Soviet Union and the country of South Africa and the entire continent of the Southern Kingdom. They can only prosper if they understand each other. Because the deal is set. The Soviet Union provides China with oil and gas in exchange for planning. As they do the planning, then it has to have a relationship with Mr. Putin, Mr. Zuma. And Mr. Zuma in turn becomes then the responsible person to make sure the entire continent of Africa becomes a working environment. Otherwise, there is no reason for Mr. Zuma to become part of the BRICS.